one presentation that we snuck in here before the roundtable discussion. So I'm going to ask on the stage Mr. Hugo McCafferty from Fine Dining Lovers for his presentation. So thank you.
So hello everyone, my name is Hugo McCafferty and I'm a journalist with Fine Dining Lovers. We are an online food and gastronomy magazine by San Pellegrino and Acquapanna. We're based in Milan, Italy, but we publish globally in 4 languages. How does this work? Forward is this? So firstly, I'd like to thank the European Food Summit for the opportunity to speak with you today. We've been watching the gastronomy scene in Slovenia for many years now, and we're very excited to see how things are developing. We've been big fans of Ana Roche for a long time, and Hisa Franco too, and we're glad to see that both are getting the international recognition that they deserve. And it's a real honor to be here with you this afternoon, especially after the last year and a half that we've had, and what a period it has been. So, I'm from Dublin, but I live in Italy in the north, in Lecco on Lake Como. It's about 40 minutes from Bergamo. And way back in February 2020, our area was the first to be, in the West, to be hit by the coronavirus pandemic. We were the first to experience the lockdown and the first to really experience the fear and uncertainty as the pandemic gripped the country. At Fine Dining Lovers, we switched ourselves to remote work, and what we saw as the pandemic spread outwards across the world was the devastating impact that it was having on the restaurant industry. We'd seen Italy's restaurants close down virtually overnight without assistance. And we saw the domino effect as it spread out in other countries. And we knew then that things would never be the same again. In the midst of all this despair and chaos, we also saw the best of our industry. We saw chefs risk their own health to feed frontline workers in their communities. We saw chefs and restaurateurs risk financial ruin to keep their teams together. We saw chefs around the world choose to close before they were mandated to because customer health and safety was their priority. We saw innovation and incredible bravery, and perhaps a small silver lining was that we saw customers finally realize just how important restaurants are to them. And we knew we had to adapt also. So we focused on a more kind of service-driven type of journalism. We asked ourselves, how could we help? We worked on initiatives that provided real relief for chefs at the coalface, like the James Beard Relief Fund and 50 Best Recovery. Both provided financial packages given directly to chefs. We amplified inspiring stories and innovations in the hope that others could use them. And we tried to provide simple, useful resources for chefs who were using their creativity to pivot in all kinds of new directions. We produced a forum called Turning the Tables, which brought industry leaders together to discuss the future of restaurants, training for young culinary students, new models of operation, and the new normal that we might see in the industry after the pandemic settled. The message throughout these talks was clear across the board, and it still is. Things would need to change and change drastically if the industry was going to survive and prosper. One of the people we worked with extensively in that period was Vaughan Tan, a strategy consultant, author, and professor at the University College London's School of Management, who has worked closely with the food and beverage industry. And everything that Vaughan predicted came to pass. A period of massive disruption to restaurants that would force people into new ways of working. Something he calls the uncertainty mindset that, if adopted, can actually present unforeseen opportunities. They say that necessity is the mother of invention, and what we saw in the industry was nothing short of astonishing. We saw business innovations. Fine dining flipped to takeout and burgers. We saw chefs create products for supermarket shelves. We saw community-based enterprise and a brave new world opened up for restaurants. We also saw chefs testing brand new business models as the industry started to question itself, how can it improve? We also saw attitudes and mindsets change completely. And one quote from this period really stood out for us. It was from a young chef in the UK, Jeremy Chan, the owner and chef at Equi in London. He told us that his proudest moment as a chef was being able to tap a 6-month contingency fund that he had saved in order to keep his restaurant afloat. So this is one of the creative lights of the industry, and his proudest moment as a chef happened within Excel spreadsheets, profit and loss, and shrewd saving. So with all this learning in mind, we launched the Better Business Survey in partnership with the Culinary Institute of America, the James Beard Foundation, and Black Food Folks. And it was administered by Vaughan Tan. We wanted to ask very specific questions that would give us an insight into what tools chefs and restaurateurs needed in order to do better business. We designed a survey to allow us to identify key gaps in skills among chefs in order for us to create those tools for them. And now we are going to go and create a series of bespoke support videos based on those gaps in the skill sets in the industry. So if we just look at our respondents, quickly breaking it down, 56% of those who responded were at senior executive or ownership level, 29% at mid-level sous chef positions, and 15% were in junior roles. And almost 80% of those surveyed said they lacked practical business knowledge. So these are mostly experienced chefs at executive or even ownership level. And 4 out of 5 are saying that they lack basic business knowledge. We asked our respondents what lessons they would like to have that they feel are not currently available to them. And coming in at number 1, the lesson was they wanted to see a restaurant owner, a general manager, head chef, and junior employee from different restaurants, each offering their 3 top actions and policies to reduce burnout. So this was surprising. It seems that after all the lessons learned in recent years, all the campaigns on mental health and better working practices, after all the financial trauma of the last year and a half, burnout is still the number 1 issue affecting professional chefs. And what is more is that chefs need help in learning how to avoid it. It's like they're under so much pressure they just don't have the time or energy to find a way to prevent it. It's a kind of vicious circle and kind of one of the key contributors to the staffing crisis and driving people away from the industry. We feel if this one issue can be resolved, it'll have a knock-on effect in solving other issues within the industry. The second lesson that our respondents said they wanted was to see a successful neighborhood restaurant owner on creating and maintaining customer loyalty. So this is interesting as it shows that more restaurants are looking to their local communities for loyal custom. We know business travel is dead for the time being, and a restaurant must have a sustainable customer base to support them through uncertain times. This goes for the fine dining restaurants as much as it goes for the mom and pop trattoria. We think it's a positive thing that restaurants are becoming more embedded in their communities. And if we can achieve this successfully, there can be lessons for other industries here. Number 3 was that they wanted to see a psychologist on how to attract and build strong, happy, and efficient teams. So this one is connected to the first one. And it's also connected to the staffing crisis. But interestingly, it shows that chefs are aware of the important role that psychology can play in making their restaurants better working environments. I think it's also a legacy of the old school kitchen working where today's executive chefs endured a trial by fire and had to tolerate all kinds of abuse. So it's like parenting. You tend to adopt the parenting style of your own parents unless you consciously choose a different path. The fourth lesson that our respondents wanted to see was a guide from a restaurant industry business expert on what is a business model and how to start one. Again, this is coming mostly from executive chefs and restaurant owners. Many just don't have any useful training in how to build a business plan. So here they are working day and night in one of the most precarious industries there is without the basic business skills to navigate it. And number 5 was that they wanted to see a restaurant investor explaining what they look for in a successful pitch for a new restaurant before investing. So this indicates both an interest in seeking outside investment for starting a restaurant and also a lack of knowledge about what investors are looking for. But in my opinion, experienced chefs should be the ones advising the investors and not the other way around. Oh. And okay, we'll just look at our respondents. Their needs differed according to their experience and seniority. Those with 1 to 2 years experience wanted to learn about like a business model followed by managing burnout and then attracting investment. With 2 to 5 years, it was roughly the same. Business model, customer loyalty, investment knowledge. Once you get to 5 to 10 years, burnout is top priority, followed by profit and loss, and then a lesson from a psychologist on happy and efficient team building. And then when you get to the seasoned and veteran chefs of 10 years and more experience, by far and away what they wanted to know was how to manage burnout, followed by the psychologist, and then interestingly they want to learn how to delegate responsibility. But overall, burnout reduction with practical lessons, advice and policies was the number 1 priority across all. So there's clearly a lack of essential skills in the kitchen, and we asked our respondents why they don't access education and training. And it won't surprise you that the answer is lack of time and lack of access. In any other career, whether that's business, the media, technology, you do your primary degree, you do your years gaining experience, and then when it's time to progress in your career, you go back and you do a master's, an MA or relevant training, to equip you for the next level. As a chef, you put in your years of work in the kitchen, you move up the line, and then when you've done your time, you open your own restaurant, without the prerequisite training in entrepreneurship. So this is where the main gap exists. It's a bridge between creative chef and competent entrepreneur. You can see that there are further postgraduate training possibilities for chefs out there. And particularly the Culinary Institute of America has raised the bar in this, and they're providing excellent training. But these courses are expensive. They involve a huge commitment from young chefs. Maybe they have like inflexible schedules, so they're not accessible for everyone. But the suite of resources that we aim to produce will develop, they'll be concise, and chefs can use them how and when they want. So after the period of greatest upheaval in the industry in a century, we can look for silver linings. You'll have seen how Nama won number 1 on the world's 50 best restaurants list recently. And we spoke to René Redzepi directly afterwards. And instead of savoring the victory, he was like laser focused on making huge changes within his restaurant. So he wants to completely overhaul the way they work at Noma. We spent the last year and a half dreaming of something, he said. We're ready to go build it now. It's something that needs to be addressed urgently. We need to be the best place to work. Let's be the best place to work for that. I would encourage you all to take the survey. You can find it on finedininglovers.com. And please keep an eye out for the resources that we will be producing, because we really believe they'll be useful for everyone in the industry. Again, I'd like to thank the European Food Summit for the opportunity to speak with you and present our work today. And I also feel like despite the ongoing challenges within our industry, events like this are a chance to celebrate social gastronomy and the people within the industry that make it so special. They're brilliant, they're creative, they're courageous, and they're the heart of what we do. So I thank you all for what you have done and what you continue to do. Thank you.